oh my God, this movie just eats other movies for lunch.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Sher.
Hi, everybody.
And we're going to continue our March Madness today.
Yes.
Let the games begin! Do you believe in miracles? Yes! In one shining moment, it's all on the line. Battle Royale!
The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
You're excited? Feel these nipples!
It's madness.
It's madness. That's the March Madness.
Now that we're in March.
Yeah, now that we're in March. So we're now moving to the East region here, and we'll start with the 1 in 16, which is Children of Men versus One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, we can do this one pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Children of Men is one of those movies that is it still like underrated?
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep.
And we have it in our number one seed in this. I don't hear very many people bring this movie up a lot, and it's stunning.
Yeah,
it's just stunning. It came on the other day. I had to sit there and watch it. It's just that type of movie.
Well, I mean, maybe it's because it is so tense and it is so dark that it may be a little bit hard to watch, but it's worth every second that you pour into it. I would have thought that after Gravity, this would have gotten a retrospective kind of bump because Alfonso Cuarón is regarded as, I guess, one of the top, not even like an up-and-comer. I mean,
he's definitely there. He's established.
And but this is his best work.
Yeah.
Right?
Arguably.
Yeah.
I think you could say that. I think I even said when we discussed it before, if I had to pick one movie that's the best movie made since 2000, it'd probably be this one.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of everything. The issues that the movie wants to talk about are as relevant as ever, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The near future setting of this film, I think, insulates it from aging poorly as we move forward, because he's created a whole world here. The look, the feel, the music adds to it. I just fucking love this movie, and I think it might be my favorite Michael Caine performance of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about that lovable old pot smoker who wants people to pull his finger, and the heartbreaking way he goes about helping his wife die, basically, when he realizes the jig is up. I can't say enough good things about it. It's got all those amazing one-shots. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, for me, it's always been 3 really intense action scenes that he builds on these, and one comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yes.
And because they're just sitting there like playing games or something in the car or whatever, and then suddenly it's on.
Yeah.
And I like sci-fi that talks about like stuff. It's not really about like futuristic gadgetry and like flying out into space or anything like that. You know, this is a world where women aren't having children anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just right off the bat that gets you hooked into this dystopia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't think of a better person than Clive Owen to take us through this and everything. He's perfectly cast in this.
Yeah, and he's not the suave, debonair Clive Owen that you know from Closer, from the other stuff that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's a loser.
Yeah,
he's kind of a loser.
I mean, he's drinking whiskey in his coffee in the morning. He's going to a government job that he hates, and he's basically just a schlub.
Yeah,
good looking schlub, but he's still a schlub.
And I love when he's on the bus with Julianne Moore, and they're having that like basically they were a couple, and they did they fought and all that and all this. And she gets up and walks off the bus. Says, "Oh yeah, sure, just walk away like you always do and everything." And she's like, "It's our stop," So yeah, there's like unexpected laughs and something that's so dour, as far as, people not having kids anymore and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, every time this movie comes up, I have to think of the 3 action scenes, and they're just incredible, and it's just the way they're done.
It's so visceral because you feel like every gunshot can be lethal in this. It's not just pop caps. Like you see dents in the door if there's a gun fired, and you see the real world ramifications. You see people shot in the neck and stuff like that, and it's not just the blood and the gore and things like that. You just see like real consequences. It's not pew 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 pew.
Yeah. Like Lego Batman movie. So I think we can, like you said, we can get done with this one pretty quickly here. So Children of Men versus One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We talked about that one last podcast. I'm definitely going Children of Men here. Just for a movie that just left me breathless after the first time I watched it, and I couldn't stop talking about it. And it was a little disappointing to see that it wasn't doing anything at the box office and everything. But I think it's found some of an audience. But like we said before, I don't know if there's a lot of people talking about it. Not that I run into anyway. But it's winning here.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's definitely winning because I'm going to vote Children of Men.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to stop me.
No. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a great movie. Watch it, but also watch Children of Men.
Yeah.
Which is going to win unanimously.
And the cuckoos get on the bus to go back home.
It'd be great if there was a college basketball team called the Cuckoos.
The Cuckoos. I bet there is.
Yeah. We're the Cuckoos! It's probably an Australian football team.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably is. Probably is. Okay, our number 2 seed is City of God versus our 15 seed, The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think anybody who's heard me talk knows where I'm going to go with this, but let's talk about these 2 movies. City of God is one of those movies that I did not expect it at all when I watched it. I remember this was Hollywood 27. We got this before like it had any major release. In fact, I think it took months for it to have a major release. This was like a critical screening of some sort that we got. And I remember a friend of mine who worked there who always is just in the know on all the movies and everything. He's like, we got to watch this, man. This is got some good buzz. I was like, hey, okay. And you start watching it and you're like, what the fuck movie is this? I mean, what? I mean, come on. And then that's like lasts for 2 minutes because because then it gets into this sprawling Godfather-esque Rio slum, epic movie. And oh my God, this movie just eats other movies for lunch.
I love the number of times that the narrator says, but it is not time to tell his story.
Yeah.
Been dropping all these teases on me. It's funny. It's violent. The performances are all great. And to my knowledge, the vast majority of them were just regular Brazilians that were hired. I don't think any of them are like Brazil's George Clooney or anything.
No.
And that authenticity comes through, I think.
Yeah, I thought, and now I think was that you had Alice Braga would go on to be the biggest actress actor out of this whole movie. And one of the guys in this ends up being like the guy who does all the musical interludes in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. I believe he's one of the guys.
Oh, really?
I think he ends up being like one of those.
Well, the guy who played Knockout Ned did something too.
It might be the Knockout Ned character, actually. Which is, another great thing too. Like this guy who's just unbelievably handsome. They call him Knockout Ned. Those characters are great, and just even stuff like that I don't even really understand, like Lil Zay and all that. But I think I officially knew I was going to love this movie when, Lil Zay goes and does, blows away all those people in the hotel or the apartments or whatever. You knew you were for sort of a different kind of movie at that point.
And he is smiling the whole time, man.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, and for City of God, it always goes back to me that, when he's grown up too, and he's going after Knockout Ned, and Knockout Ned has that, like, why didn't he kill me?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, why didn't I kill that guy? It's unexpectedly funny in places, and just if you like gangster crime, and then like an underbelly of just like, oh, I didn't know this was a problem in Rio.
Yeah,
right.
Everything that we know of Rio is American, rose-colored glasses type stuff. Look at how beautiful this is. Here's the big Jesus.
The big Jesus. At the gift shop, they sell shirts that call the statue that. The big Jesus.
Yeah, totally.
No, I agree. There's a little Tarantino in there. There's a little Guy Ritchie in there. There's a little Godfather in there. I would call this an epic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It's fan-freaking-tastic. And I'm still kicking myself for having waited so long to watch it.
The whole thing hinges on this party with Benny, where he basically says, I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go live my life. I'm a playboy.
Right.
And, everybody, as different as they are and as scurrilous and just they're fighting all the time, they come together for this one party. And they're going to keep the peace, basically. And then all hell breaks loose, just because of this one little kid, basically.
Yeah.
But Benny's character is really the soul of the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see when everybody is just crushed. And that was the last remaining thing. And then it's just all out chaos from there on.
Yep.
But, man, when you can have a character like that, because he starts out as dangerous as Lil Zig.
Yes, he does.
And you expect, like, they're just going to be, this Bonnie and Clyde type of thing all the way through. And once he starts kind of, meeting girls and that kind of thing and wanting to get out, like, you're like, this could be kind of a different kind of animal. And then it does become just a completely different movie. It's glorious.
They do that well because I really actually want to be Benny in this, because he's so cool in this. It's like, oh my God, what? I will never be that cool. And this guy is embodiment of it. He's got everything that you would want, the hot girls and just the cool demeanor.
Yeah.
I also like our main character too. He's like a photographer and everything. He's taking all these real, like, nobody else in the world can possibly take these pictures type of thing of the gang violence going on. There's a great little sweet scene too where the woman at the newspaper takes him home and goes, I had never had sex before, but I'm not going to talk to you about this sexual experience or whatever. We're going to move on to the next thing or whatever. It's none of your business, It's just, this movie is just fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
So then it's going up against The Sixth Sense. No slouch.
A masterpiece almost.
Yes, it is. And M. Night Shyamalan is he's a punchline turning back into a serious force again because of the Split movie.
Yeah.
And even stuff like the last one he came out with, The Visit. Was sort of the stepping stone to that because the people kind of like The Visit too, but The Split was officially like, sort of brought his name back. But back in 1999, this was a stunning quote unquote debut. He had done another movie before this.
Wide Awake?
It might have been Wide Awake.
Rosie O'Donnell's in it.
Yeah, it might have been that movie.
Something about a nun.
But it was one of those guys, he's announced his presence. And he would go on to do Unbreakable, which we all agree is a great movie in here. And Signs for a lot of people is a great movie. I'm half and half on that one. I swear in different companies I've said, yeah, that's a good movie, or no, that's not a very good movie. But we weren't. I mean, we had been primed for surprises all through the 90s. We talked about a few. The Shawshank Redemption, Seven, Usual Suspects, all have these surprises.
Yeah.
And we were sort of getting primed for that. But The Sixth Sense is one of the biggest doozies that we've ever run into. If it wasn't for spoiled for me and Jeremy.
We were both spoiled.
Yeah,
but it works because the movie doesn't even hint that there's something coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like with The Usual Suspects, the whole movie is like, who's Kaiser Soze?
Yep.
But this doesn't have any of that. It almost lulls you into a false sense of security, and then it decks you with that hook.
Because it is a compelling ghost story anyway.
Yeah.
And the marketing, of course, was focused on the whole I see dead people.
Yeah.
And man, you don't get any creepier than that when you see that first in the trailer where Haley Joel Osment is just sitting in that bed and like, I see dead people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right. And that could be enough.
Yeah.
That could be enough. But then you have this whammy at the end and you're like, oh man, it forces you to rethink the entirety of what you just saw.
Well, and that's the thing. If that was done in a slipshod manner, then we wouldn't be talking about this movie today. It's expected that Bruce Willis, who's the above the line main star of this movie, is alive throughout the entire thing. It's expected for that. You don't think he's dead. There's no reason for you to think that. But then, yeah, I just wish I had my own without spoil and whatever to see because those scenes with him interacting with Toni Collette and all this other stuff are very odd.
Yeah.
And you know that later on when after you know the surprise and everything. I mean, at least it's way I think it takes the second viewing for you to realize that. But they do it in such a great way. His interactions with Olivia Williams and everything seem just like, okay, it's a couple that used to be happy, and then the gunshot happened, and then things started going downhill. It's just the way it feels. If he'd done anything there that was a little slipshod, it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful.
Yeah. Particularly when she's watching the wedding video.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just heartbreaking because I was virginized when I saw this, and I actually didn't know the spoiler going into it. And that's where my mind immediately went back to because they're strangers in the night. They're just passing, basically. Yeah. But they're connected to that. They're both watching how they used to be.
Yeah.
And as soon as I found out the twist, I was like, oh, that scene, that was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, The Sixth Sense, it has a really tough matchup here. Going up against this movie, which is odd. The Sixth Sense is by far more popular movie.
Oh, yeah.
But City of God is probably way better than this movie.
Yeah.
But what is our voting?
All right, I'll go first this time. It's going to be City of God. Oh, man.
We could almost do a City of God, City of God, City of God.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's probably no drama to this at all. I mean,
probably not. The way that I think Chris and I went into this, and maybe Jeremy, well, no, because we had talked about it before you watched it, is to not know much about it. Because even though I had heard a little bit about it, it's got one of the most misleading posters of all time because it's them sitting on the beach and you think, oh, Brazil sitting on the beach. It's a love story, that kind of thing. And it blows your mind when you don't know what you're going to expect.
I'm not even sure the title's quite good.
Yeah.
For what the movie is. Because I had filed this under indie film about missionaries that is getting decent buzz when it was first kind of being talked about and reviewed. Because I thought, City of God, we're in some third world looking area.
Yeah.
There's nothing about the marketing of the movie that shows you what it really is.
Yeah.
Maybe that was intentional. Maybe they wanted to surprise you and lull you in with the...
It should have been called Big Jesus.
Yeah, it should have been Big Jesus.
Big Jesus. I'm telling you, there's a band out there right now that's like, we just found our band.
Yeah.
Big Jesus.
I mean, maybe in Portuguese it's way better, the Ciudad de Deus or whatever, whatever. But what was the order again, just so that we can all say City of God?
You and then
yeah, so it's City of God for me as well, and that's nothing against The Sixth Sense. I mean, The Sixth Sense, if we somehow found a way to make this a higher seed, it might have had a chance to get through a few of these rounds, but to go up against something like this, it's not going to happen.
Tough draw, man. Tough draw. City of God all the way. Whoosh, swish. Nothing but net.
And that's the game! Nothing further, Your Honor. All right, so here's our 3 seed versus our 14 seed. 3 seed is Almost Famous.
Oh.
Versus the 14 seed, No Country for Old Men.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Who seeded this shit?
Yeah. I don't know.
This is
what won 2007?
There Will Be Blood.
Was No Country second?
A
14 seed?
Did you vote for
no, I voted Gone Baby Gone, I think.
Yeah, so it wasn't even in contention.
God damn, a 14 seed. Yeah. This movie's been playing like crazy on Showtime or Stars the last 4 or 5 days, and I've had it on every single day.
Wow.
I love when he opens that case for the first time and sees all the money, and we cut to this wide shot, and he goes, yeah. God, this is, again, this is the point, right? Two completely incongruous movies, but where No Country succeeds on, I guess, filmmaking, Almost Famous succeeds emotionally in ways that few movies ever had.
Yeah.
I don't know how many movie characters I've actually fallen in love with, but Penny Lane is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all due to Kate Hudson just either being that role or just doing a really good job in it.
Well, she hasn't been like this since.
No, not in anything.
Like it's the most dumbfounding thing I have ever run across, as far as, because you watch Almost Famous and you're like, Kate Hudson is going to be one of our, most beloved stars after this.
Yeah.
And yeah, her film choices, and I've talked about this before, I believe, throughout the decade of the aughts, were on par with where Matthew McConaughey was, and they were in two of the same movies together.
Yeah. Two of the same terrible movies.
Yeah, they were both in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and Fool's Gold, which were both horrible movies. But she was also in like Le Divorce and Alex and Emma, and
she did that bride fight movie with Anne Hathaway a few years ago.
Yeah, Bride Wars.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
I mean, the film choices that she made in that decade after Almost Famous were just, they were the worst. But in this movie, you're right. Much like Audrey Tautou and Amelie, I actually really do care and fall in love with this girl, just like our Patrick Fugit character does. Who's of course way out of his depth in this. It's sort of like Jason Schwartzman in Rushmore, only without the obsession, the dangerous obsession and everything.
It's weird, because she is playing a character, I guess around her same. She was about 20 or 21 when she did this, and I guess that was around the age that Penny Lane was. But she's got so much more experience. I mean, she's not that much older than he is, but I mean, she's lived a lifetime more than he has at this point. You know?
Yeah, she's had sex with more people than he will.
Well, and especially he's got the part at the end, towards the end, where she's overdosed or whatever, and he's like, "Well, I'm about to go where many men have gone before."
I do love that part when the rest of the Band-Aids sleep with him, though, and they're like, deflower the virgin.
Well, you know what? What sets that scene up so great is the camera just kind of happens upon Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's deflower the kid. It's just like it's like almost like let's go grocery shopping or something like that. It's just, let's just go ahead and deflower him. And then like afterwards, they make jokes about how he's a virgin and everything, and then he's like got this sheepish look on his face and everything. It's like, all right.
This is kind of where Cameron Crowe puts it all together, right? Like he's had classics up until now, but nothing in the scope of this. Like this is just his universe that he could dive into. He could tell how personal it was.
Something tells me the more intimately he's familiar with his characters, the better his movies are.
Absolutely.
Because this is his life and the world that he experienced. And I just feel like some of his other movies, he gets away from that. He's always been really good about making relatable characters, like Jerry Maguire, mega sports agent. Super relatable because, well, he sends him crashing down to earth, and he makes some stupid drunk decisions. But yeah, I think maybe he should. We had Fast Times where he went undercover and did all this research, so he really well knew the people he was writing about. He should do more of that.
Yeah,
as opposed to, because he's never bought a zoo.
No,
right?
He sure hasn't.
What does he know about zoos?
He's never said aloha.
Well, and I guess he sort of fits that mold of filmmaker who really does need to draw from personal experience, like we're saying here. or else, yeah, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's not as relatable.
And it's unfortunate because he has come out with. I mean, he wrote the screenplay for Fast Times, and then Say Anything's great. Jerry Maguire's great. Almost Famous is great. I like Singles, even though Barrett doesn't. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Almost Famous is probably. I don't know. I think that's probably. His most personal thing because he was a writer for Rolling Stone in the 70s and he followed around Led Zeppelin and all that. That's why Zeppelin even shows up on the soundtrack, which was unheard of back in 2000. It was too expensive to put song.
Well, and they also are famously strict about not wanting films to use their music. And I think something about Cameron Crowe's street cred shows through there.
Yeah.
Like he might have picked up the phone and called one of the Allman Brothers and said, "Hey, can you call Led Zeppelin for me?" Because you know, he was out on the road with all these really famous bands. God.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is anecdotal, how much is extrapolation, and how many of those little vignettes were real to life.
Yeah,
I'd love to pick his brain.
Yeah, I bet it's really close. Actually.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, because yes, they go over the top, but you've heard stories of like Zeppelin or the other like big rock bands going even further over the top.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But we have here is a lot of great performances here. Billy Crudup, I don't think's ever been better than he is in this movie. Or more memorable.
I agree.
I can't think of anything other than maybe Watchmen, but he was
in a movie called Jesus' Son that was
terrific.
That's
right. That's right.
Certainly on this scale, he's never been broader and better. But I don't think Jesus' Son was too far before this, and that type of vulnerability to his character kind of I think helps this along.
Yeah.
You know, where he's a rock star, but like. He's got a little more texture to him.
Yeah, I remember him in the movie Inventing the Abbotts before this too.
Liv Tyler.
Yeah, Liv Tyler and Jennifer Connelly. Joaquin Phoenix. But then Jason Lee has never been as good as he's ever.
No.
Even in the Kevin Smith movies where he's great, I don't think he's ever been as good.
Closest he comes is My Name Is Earl.
Yeah,
he was pretty good on that.
Oh yeah,
but film-wise, I don't know that I've seen him be any better than this.
No, I mean,
and he's often worse than this.
What about in the Chipmunks movies?
Yeah, let's go there.
Forgot about those. But then, and then we have a great small role from Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Lester Bangs.
I would almost tell you to watch this first if you're interested in watching more Philip Seymour Hoffman's work. It's such a small role, but he just owns it. He just kills so hard and speaks the harsh truth to this kid that he needs. Oh, it's so great.
Frances McDormand's great in it too. I mean, and yeah, even we have Michael Angelino's really young, plays what's his? Is it just? It's just
William Miller.
William Miller. So Michael Angelino plays the young William, and then Patrick Fugit plays as the
11.
Yeah. And they're both good, and you have Zooey Deschanel in it. Just comes. I mean, there's so many. It's infused with so many likable people, and you have also early on in his career, Jay Baruchel's in this.
Oh yeah,
it's Bowie. But it's just there's everything about this movie is just every little sort of segment that they go through is just fun. It's you just glad to be a part of the ride and everything.
You even have a Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon who comes in with a great cameo.
Yeah.
Hey, if you think Mick Jagger is going to be up on stage dancing around when he's 70, you are sadly mistaken.
I don't know why I know this, but the girl who plays his wife, the lead singer's wife, is Mark Wahlberg's wife in Three Kings.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know her name, but
every once in a while you get one of these actors who's like in like 4 movies in a year, and then they just suddenly disappear. Poof. Yeah, like the wife of John Turturro in Quiz Show.
Oh yeah.
Was around a whole bunch of stuff at that time. You're like, oh, it's that girl, and then you're like, where did she go after that? Poof. Yeah. Yeah, this movie's just really good. I don't know what else to say about it other than that. It's just you go watch it and experience it because that's like being with a rock band, behind the scenes. It really is like that, and it's fun every minute of it.
Just make us look cool, man.
Yeah. But that leads us into No Country for Old Men. This matchup reminds me a lot of The Shawshank versus Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Where you have one that's got the emotional winning, and then you have the kinetic winning of the other one. No Country for Old Men is the Coen brothers doing their best action movie that they've ever done. I mean, it's a drama, but it's an action movie. Filled with so many like quirky ass characters. Yep. I mean, Javier Bardem, that's probably the most memorable character we've seen in the last 15 years or so. I mean,
especially as a villain.
Yeah. Anton Chigurh is I mean, because of all the little quirks, he's got that little like cattle prod machine or whatever the hell it is.
Cattle killer, calf killer, whatever it is.
Right. The thing that always, every time I hear No Country for Old Men, I think of it kind of like Children of Men.
Mm-hmm.
3 big action scenes.
Yep.
One is the hotel, which is just dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the dogs chasing after Josh Brolin, dynamite. And then like the whole ending of it is just crazy good too. Mm-hmm. And we have another movie where everybody's just amazingly good in this.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin and Kelly MacDonald and
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones are all. This might be the last great Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I love peak Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just because this is certainly not anywhere near his fugitive type of mentality, but he plays it so tired and so knowledgeable and so smart, and I love this performance.
I love his deputy, who I call not Will Forte.
Yeah.
The guy from Looper.
Right.
He's in a bunch of stuff, and he looks like Will Forte's brother. He's so funny. Like when they go to Llewellyn's trailer, and they know the bad guy has been there because the lock's busted in. And Tommy Lee points at the milk. That's frustrating. It's still sweating. And there's like a beat and a half, and the deputy goes, "Oh, Sheriff, we just missed him." So funny how like he's not totally stupid, but he obviously hasn't learned how to police yet. And Tommy Lee is kind of having to guide him through it.
The Coens always find a way to make things funny in the middle of a serious thing, like the part where Chigurh is injured and his like leg is broken or whatever, and the 2 kids come along on the bikes, and the kid keeps going, "Look at that fucking bone," and then he can't say anything else. "Look at that fucking bone."
Let me ask you a question. On all of the Anton Chigurh moments that we are left without a concrete did he or did he not kill this person, are we supposed to just assume he did? Because we never see him kill that gas station guy. We see him talk for like 6.5 minutes and then drive away in a truck. I am
certain he doesn't kill the gas station guy.
Yeah, because he flips
the coin, but that's what's so damn intense about it is he's telling this guy for no reason, flip the coin, and he's like, "Why does it matter?" And he's like, "It matters everything.
Yeah.
It means everything." And so he calls it and he gets it right. And the other one is Kelly MacDonald.
Yeah, his wife.
Obviously got killed.
That's what I figured.
One, because the reason is earlier on when he kills Woody Harrelson. This is a spoiler heavy fucking. When he kills Woody Harrelson and he gets on the phone, blood starts going towards his boots, and he like makes sure that no blood gets on his boots. When he does the thing with Kelly MacDonald and we're not sure, he walks outside and he checks his boots.
Nice detail.
Yeah, it's a great detail. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, we didn't need to see the bloody aftermath of this. Just show that one detail, and that's enough story for us. Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear, but it's not.
The only one that gets away,
stated.
I'm pretty sure, is the guy from accounting in the high rise, where he's like, "Do you see me? Like, are you going to kill me?" He's like, "That depends. Do you see me?" I'm kind of doing Bane. I just turned Chigurh into Bane.
It's not too far, though. It's not too far.
Well, what I love about this movie, you talked about the spoiler heavy. I could name you every plot spoiler there is, and this movie would still rivet you. It is just engaging as hell. And I watched that hotel fight scene again recently. Every time I watch it, once he finds the tracker, I'm like, throw it out the window!
Yeah,
throw it
yeah.
out the window!
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
Right.
He knows the guy's in the hotel because he calls the front desk, and he doesn't like run, or he just kind of basically waits
Yeah.
to get killed, and he points his gun, but he doesn't know the lock thing is going to hit him. I
Yeah.
fucking love that scene so
The
damn much.
scene is great. It's like old Coens on this. Blood Simple is where they really started. They started this kind of suspense thing that they're really good at. Blood Simple has that same type of thing when Francis McDormand's in the room, and the killer's coming after her and all this other type of stuff. This one, though, has so many, like, just of those details where you see the shadow of the shoes going across,
so
the
awesome.
light going out, all this stuff, and then just like that sort of that hold your breath moment, like what's going to happen, and then bing, and then just and then after that, it's just that awesome gun battle that they have going through all that. But
These could be. I could watch those tense ass scenes from Anton Chigurh like on repeat because there's probably like 4 or 5 of them, I guess, in this. None more suspenseful to me than that gas station scene where he's just like, heads or tails, amigo, and he's like you were saying, like it just has no clue how close he came to this. He's terror incarnate. He's the Grim Reaper, completely arbitrarily killing people in his wake. And there's a reason that the poster is a picture of the landscape, and it's just Javier Bardem's eyes over it and that silly haircut. And it's because like he's omnipresent in he's almost like Hannibal Lecter. You just have this sense of dread throughout the whole time because you know he's out there.
I love when he goes to the camping supply store and he's like, I want to get some tent poles. The guy's like, tent poles? We don't sell them separate from the tents. And he's like, never mind, I want a tent. He's like, what kind of tent do you want? One with the most poles. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's so smart. Like, he gets much more credit, or he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. That whole thing he does with getting the second room and using the tent poles to push the money into the vent so he can get it from the other side. The whole movie, he's displaying these kind of street smarts. And, it's one of the reasons he goes further going up against Chigurh than anyone ever has, right? Because the theory is, like Woody Harrelson says to him in the hospital, he should have killed you. You should be dead. You're lucky to be alive to go up against him. I love this movie. It's really, really good. This is a hard choice.
It really is. All right, so what is our order?
I believe it starts with Jeremy.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, so Almost Famous has my heart. And I got to pick No Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. Almost Famous.
I know.
I'm sorry, Kate Hudson.
This is like Jason Segel and Forgetting Sarah Marshall killing the pig.
Yeah. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
You can stop crying now. It's dead already. I know. Shut up. Yeah, I'm going to feel bad about this. It feels like a breakup. Almost Famous is just magical and will make you feel all the feels, but I can't find a bad thing to say about No Country except the end is a little wonky.
Yeah.
Everything you've shown me with Llewellyn to not show me that moment. And I get what's going on here, but it still bothers me sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's such a great film. Technically, the pacing, it's one of the most suspense films ever. The performances, I can't not vote for it. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. It's also beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
This
It's
is
Roger Deakins thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because we were just talking about Fargo and how gorgeous that was, which is weird because it's this barren landscape. What makes it cool is that how blood appears on the snow, too, and being a kind of a nice contrast. But No Country for Old Men is just filmed in this beautiful landscape. Everything is positioned perfectly. You mentioned the kinetic pace of it. That's so good. Almost Famous is a weird thing for me because this is catnip for me. This is right up my alley. This should be a fastball right down the middle. Never liked it as much as everybody else did.
Wow.
I don't know why. I love all the performances in it. I love the music in it.
I was going to say Fever Dog.
I don't know. Maybe it's because those bands, Led Zeppelin aside, like, Allman Brothers bands and things like that, never really held my interest. And so maybe that's just that whole Americana thing that I didn't get. So sorry to take this suspense out, but I'm going to vote No Country for Old Men. I don't think twice about it.
Yeah, and I was going to say No Country for Old Men, too. This is I can't pick against No Country for Old Men. I don't know. It's not the exact same as the Goodfellas versus Shawshank, because Shawshank, while it is more in line of an Almost Famous than, whatever, Shawshank's got that elevation to it and everything, and that made that Goodfellas Shawshank. That's where I was really Jason Segel. In that one. I just how do I kill Goodfellas? How do I do that? I mean, this is going to be unanimous. No Country for Old Men is just an achievement, and especially. I mean, that year, 2007, is so good.
As opposed to 2000, when Almost Famous won in our thing here, very weak year. I mean, Gladiator would have been maybe the second pick, but Almost Famous in that year, I think, was unanimous too. That's why it's got a high seed, but. Man, 2007.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
It's a beast.
By the way, a note on Deakins, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but he's been nominated 13 times and has never won.
Never.
Man, come on.
And his cinematography is so stark and amazing that you're like, oh, surely this guy's won at least once. Nope. He has never won.
That's crazy, man.
How do you get nominated 13 fucking times and not win one fucking award? It's kind of like, I think Randy Newman had this thing where he was getting best song nominations for the longest time, never won, and then finally won. And I was like, geez, after 18 nominations.
It's like Susan Lucci for the daytime.
Yeah, Susan Lucci. And you
nominated 16 or 17 times in a row.
And you would have thought, by the 10th, they would have been like, oh, okay, let's just give it to her once.
Let's just kick one over her way.
Yeah.
She had so much competition in the soap opera category.
But no, the Soap Opera Guild or whatever, they're way too snuffy to just give somebody.
It's all political.
Yeah,
man.
it's all political. All right, so No Country for Old Men moves on. All right, on to the next one. 4 seed, A Few Good Men versus the 13 seed, Do the Right Thing.
Oh. Wow.
This is a tough matchup. I have a feeling of where this is going to go, but let's talk about these. A Few Good Men, one of Rob Reiner's best. This has sort of introduced us to Aaron Sorkin as our writer, too. And this movie is just so watchable.
Yeah.
Is that... I don't know. Is that a compliment? I don't know. I guess it's like every bit of this movie is watchable. You can turn it on anytime in the middle of it, at the end. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't turn the movie at the end and go, but I really want to see the beginning first or whatever. You watch that ending every single time if you're familiar with A Few Good Men. And if it's starting, it's even better. It's like I get to see this whole movie now. This movie's great.
I would love to see the prequel about Lionel Caffey.
Yeah,
the dad?
Yeah, because he's talked about everybody knows this guy. How many famous lawyers do you know?
Military lawyers.
Military lawyers.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, he was military and then he went to private sector because he defended that girl in
that's right.
in Alabama or wherever it was and insulted John Kendrick, which I think is a great moment in the movie. He's like, made a lot of enemies where you're from. And Kiefer Sutherland just kind of pulls back and gives him that death stare. It's like, man, you're fucked up, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, he's a dick.
He really is. And this is actually one of Kiefer Sutherland's most singular performances because he's always been like the bad boy or like the badass, but he's never been like, the super laced up bad guy. And I mean, he's arguably the worst person in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could make that case. I'd still go Nicholson, but yeah, you could make that case.
The Apostle John Kendrick.
Man, this is such a great film. I don't know how I'm going to compare it to something like Do the Right Thing.
Well, I like this because it's all it is at its heart is a courtroom drama. All it is. I mean, and by 1992, we've seen the courtroom drama millions of times. I'm sure back in 1940 they had seen enough courtroom dramas. Courtroom dramas have a certain way about them, and you know that nothing is ever really special about them. This is a special one though.
It is.
It's got a plotting to it that's just way different from your most of your courtroom dramas that you run into.
And it's not shouty.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them have been shouty
Does
up
get
and
a little,
down.
does get a little shouty though.
It does at the end.
Yeah.
But before then, like everything is methodical, which makes it sound like it's formulaic or something like that. But every piece fits. Every rebuttal makes sense. You know, when they and it's almost impossible the way that they go back and forth. But that scene with Kevin Bacon and Tom Cruise, where Kevin Bacon brings out the manual. He's like, you know, show me where, you know, you have to give a code red. And then he's got the Gitmo manual. He's like, well, we're in luck, you know, show me where this does to give the code red. And then he grabs the manual on his way back. Tom Cruise does. He's like, show me where the mess hall is, you know? And that kind of thing is what sets this apart from anything else. It's so fucking smart about how it goes about, even though as many times as we've watched it, we know all the ins and outs of it, but there's so many layers to it.
Well, in that scene you just talked about, like after that evening, like that day in court, like Kevin Bacon goes to meet him at the bar. The first thing he says is, man, that redirect on what's his name? That was pure gold. I love how they show that they're not good versus evil. Like Kevin Bacon's doing his job. He's going to do it to the best of his ability, but they're kind of friends before this case, right? I also love at the end of that scene when he tells him he's going to lock his boys up, and Tom Cruise is like, "You're a lousy fucking softball player, Jack."
Boys going down. Yeah, I mean, I love this, and I love also, like, we have basically an inexperienced lawyer team here defending these guys, and they run into those things where they've got the young and up and at 'em type of thing where they're like, you know, giving this a really good defense and everything. They also fall into the pitfalls of it, especially during the time when they've got the Downey's the one who's on the stand, and Bacon starts going through the timeline and everything, and it was just a phenomenal mistake on their part not to be able to get that timeline right, because they're even like, where's he going with this, when they're writing the notes and everything.
Yeah,
and
they don't know their own client wasn't in the room,
right?
That's insane.
And you know,
It wasn't even in the room.
That's such a great drunk performance.
It is. It's one of the best drunk. It's over the top, but it's also great.
What's funny about that drunk performance is that 5 minutes later, he is stone sober.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, once you run in the rain like Tom Cruise does, you lose all.
He's driving.
Oh, that's right. He's driving.
I'm going to put Jessup on the stand, and like all of a sudden, he's fine. You know.
I'm sorry, I got my Tom Cruise runs through rain things confused there. He is driving. You're right. He shouldn't have he's driving
He's
drunk.
fucked up. Yeah.
Also, one of the only things I can gripe about with this movie is how the fuck did Markinson get in the back of Tom Cruise's car in like the 3 seconds he hops out to go buy that newspaper?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. He's just like hanging out.
He went from a lieutenant colonel at Gitmo to a goddamn ninja.
Yeah.
Like he's had Jason Bourne training to stuff these. Too many people in movies are getting into cars and not even peripherally seeing their back seat.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I love that because, well, what's funny about that is that Markinson suddenly becomes this super fucking badass as soon as he goes, because Kevin Bacon's like, you're never going to find Markinson. He's a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no Markinson.
Yeah.
You know, like he was counterintelligence. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
And so apparently he specialized in getting into the backseat of people's
You know,
cars.
it's also probably easy to look at this movie and think it's anti-military in some way because of Jack Nicholson is a real hard ass. He's making sure his men are, you need me on that wall, you want me on that wall, all this other type of stuff. And there's a lot of truth to what Nicholson is saying in that thing. I don't think it is. I think it's where it's showing when military goes too far. It doesn't, I mean, but it's easy to kind of look at this and say, oh, it's just an anti-military movie.
It's a whole culture. If you live in, obviously none of us have been in the military, but we have friends that have been, and it's a whole different culture. And you can see it after they've been, on a tour or something like that. They come back, they're speaking almost a different language,
And these two defendants are devastated that their punishment is being kicked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's our whole world, man.
Yeah.
And so I mean, he even says, Jessup says, my existence, however grotesque to you, probably saves lives, and he means that shit. even when he gets arrested, he's like, "You weakened the country today."
Yeah.
Sweet dreams.
And who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg?
I love
And in that case, he's probably right, but you went too far.
Yeah.
You went, I mean, that's just the situation. You're not above the law. That whole thing, getting him to say the stuff that he does on the stand is great though. And it's, and in some ways you feel, I don't know, I feel it's easy to feel cheated a little bit when the actual guy admits to the wrongdoing and everything. But the way he gets there is what's great about it.
Oh, yeah, it's all build up. It's all the build up because you can see Caffey just jumping off a ledge and hoping that he's got a rope because he's going for it.
Right.
And they have that whole, don't do it if you can't get him. And he's just like, I am going to find a way to get this, and I know which things to push.
He knows that he knows Nicholson's guilty.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
Yep.
It's about, can I get him to admit it?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think he just reaches a point. I honestly always take the movie as he starts without knowing it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
He just decides, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I may end up in jail after this.
Yeah.
But that's how sure I am this guy did it. And I kind of think it's a pissing contest. I kind of think it's a little bit of like stubbornness. Like, you are not going to get over on me. I know what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it works.
Yeah,
That's why every time that we see it, after seeing it probably 25 more, more than that times, you're still going to be compelled because you're like, man, how does he do this? And every time you can see like, oh yeah, he's pushing him because he says he wants to say it.
Yeah.
He eats breakfast.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Also, the only movie I'm aware of that ever inspired a Mountain Dew flavor. Code Red.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Do they call it Mountain Dew Code Red if this movie hasn't hit the mainstream and is part of the...
Probably not.
If this movie comes out after Mountain Dew Code Red, how much do they have to rework the script? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like, is there like a millennial confusion when they watch this movie and they start saying Code Red and they're like, the Mountain Dew drink?
Right. I guarantee you there's
Why would you get in trouble for giving a fellow soldier a delicious beverage?
I guarantee you there are people who have thought that very thing. All
What's our
right.
other movie?
Do the Right Thing, which is this movie came on the other day. I was watching it in a different way. Usually I just watch it because it's just a great movie or whatever. But I was like, what is it about this movie that just grabs you from the beginning and then it just propels you all the way to the ending? Almost every scene in this movie is a confrontation of some sort. And it was something that I didn't really consciously think about before, but almost everything is an argument.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with Giancarlo Esposito coming in and saying, why aren't there any black people on the wall in this Italian restaurant and everything? And it starts off like sort of innocuous. You don't really put much credence into this, this thing at the beginning because it's like nobody's really going along with he wants to boycott Sal's Pizzeria and all this other type of stuff, and everybody's like, man, I've been growing up on Sal's for 20 years, and I'm not gonna boycott. And Martin Lawrence coming, and he said, them pizza shits is good, man, or something, whatever. But yeah, everything in this is just confrontation. You have Turturro, who is like rampantly racist in this whole thing, and Spike Lee, who's his, I guess coworker or underling or whatever, who's hearing all this stuff openly.
Yeah. And,
there's like these conversations where he's like, who's your favorite basketball player? Who's your favorite actor? Who's your favorite performer and everything? And he's like, I think you want to be black, man. He's like, no, man. And he's like, those, Magic Johnson and all those guys, those guys aren't black. And Spike Lee is like sitting there going, what the fuck are you talking about? But like every city, this movie is almost, I don't know if Spike Lee originally wanted to make it a play or something, but it's got that kind of like play
Very
atmosphere
much.
to it. It keeps going to these segments of the population in Brooklyn here where it's like going, you have the guys at the corner, the old guys at the corner who just keep talking about all the good old days.
Yep.
You've got Bill Nunn's Radio Raheem character who's going around like with this blaring like Public Enemy all over the place. And you have the guy, have the one guy who's like selling all the little like religious pamphlets and Danny Aiello and him doing the Italian restaurant. It's just, and everything is just so hot. It's a hot summer, and it's just everything is. You can see it just beating down on all these people. It's just like it's too hot. Everybody is like a powder keg right now. Yep. You don't know what's going to quite spark it off, because you feel like this probably happens every day, but
just not the right sequence of events to kick off the whole thing. Yeah.
So yeah, it is a movie that I'm going to continue to probably study from, even after this sort of realization that everything's a confrontation in this movie. This is Spike Lee's best movie still.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yep.
And he's gone on to make a lot of movies that, I recommend you go watch, but do the right.
Girl 6,
Bamboozled,
Clockers,
which I haven't seen.
He Got Game.
But He Got Game's great.
I liked He Got Game. Ray Allen's not a very good actor.
No. But Do the Right Thing, go and watch that movie, because it's just insane how good it is.
It's it's the kind of thing that might make you wonder, it's possible that like Denis Villeneuve or our new hot directors are just going to tank. Right? Because this is like his first big movie.
Yeah, he had done School Days before this, but that wasn't nearly like,
School Days, man.
Yeah, man.
Featured doing the butt.
Yeah. Which they have somebody was wearing a shirt of the butt in Do the Right Thing.
Nice. Well, Spike Lee has never gotten back to this level of technical and writing proficiency, I don't think.
I don't think so either. And I don't know. Well, Malcolm X is probably, as far as accomplished film, Malcolm X is probably his most accomplished. Do the Right Thing is his like what Tarantino's Pulp Fiction was.
It's like his Manhattan.
Yeah.
But has Tarantino ever gotten back to Pulp Fiction levels?
Yeah, I mean, he's more pop director. His sensibilities have become more pop, I guess, or whatever. Spike Lee's never became pop.
No. No, and I guess he tried to. I mean, he was certainly part of the popular culture, especially with the Jordan commercials and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
but
Mars Blackman,
and but Do the Right Thing. I can't imagine the balls. This is a studio film.
Yeah.
This isn't. It's a Universal picture.
Yeah.
Like the balls Universal had letting this movie happen and everything, and it's just unreal. Like when this came on the other day and I saw the Universal logo, I was like, the fuck.
I saw this movie many years later, probably about 96, 97 or something like that, and I just thought, I hadn't heard a whole lot about it. I thought it was just like, kind of a pop culture movie and that kind of thing, just watch it and everything. I wasn't ready for what it has to say.
Yeah.
It blew me away when I saw it. Like, it made me think for weeks and weeks afterwards. And what's interesting is that, Chris and I are from the South, and Jeremy's from small towns too. And you associate the South, for better or for worse, with racism and things like that. What you don't realize, and when you go to bigger cities, Chris is in New York and I lived in Chicago, and Jeremy outside of Chicago, is that how racially segregated openly the big cities are. And I imagine it's the same in Brooklyn in this period. There are, in these big cities, there are sections that are separated by side of the street that you don't go over the other side of that street.
Yeah.
And when those cultures do come together, and you see it just building and building and building throughout this whole movie, and cultivates with this crazy scene at the pizzeria. Like, man, like you just really see that side of how people can live together, but in constant conflict all the time, because it's this side of the street versus my side of the street. It's your race versus my race. It's my heritage versus your heritage.
And never more prevalent what you just said than in the one scene where the movie stops for a moment to have the camera dolly into all these people while they're saying the most racist things that they can think of. I don't know if it was scripted this way or if they just let these guys go off the top of their head, because it's a lot of the times it just kind of like sound like they're trying to come up with the bad thing to say, and it goes to the black guy talking about this race. It goes to the Latino guy talking about this race, and it just goes around and around and around, and it just like takes your breath away.
It's so shocking that you think it's fucking fake. The shocking part is that is actually reality in these communities.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. I'm an idiot, but I didn't realize that until later on in life. And that's why I've got such an appreciation of this, where he's just like, pulling the curtain back and be like, here's what it is.
This is a thing also that I did not realize at all. If somebody asked Spike Lee, why does his character throw the garbage can into the pizzeria and smashes it and like makes it where everybody just smashes up the pizzeria and everything? And he's like, you know what? No one black has ever asked me that question.
That's awesome.
And you know, it ultimately comes down to they're going to kill Danny Aiello basically, because think about all this stuff that has happened. There's basically an almost riot in his pizzeria in the first place. The cops come and they step down too hard on the Bill Nunn character, the Radio Raheem character, and they kill him. This is also based on a real, actual, you know, cops, you know, killing basically an innocent person in the same situation based on that. That happens, and then Aiello comes out and he's like, he starts yelling and stuff, and Spike Lee, his character says, okay, he's gonna die. Let's focus our rage on his pizzeria instead. And that's where the Do the Right Thing title comes from. And I did not realize that, actually. I did not realize that at all.
So he's trying to save his life with a riot.
Yeah, basically smashing up his place. Everybody focuses their rage on his store.
I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah.
Instead, because Aiello comes out and he starts yelling and everything, and everybody's just like they've come around. Like at first they were like, "No, man, I love the pizzeria. I don't ever whatever." Once he says the one racial slur, which is where Turturro gets it. You finally realize, even though he's played very nice, as far as, you know, his outward demeanor has been this whole time, he lets some of his racial prejudice come out in the scene where Raheem comes in and plays the music and everything, and he lets off a racial slur. Well, there's other people in the restaurant, and they're like, whoa, and then that's where everybody starts turning on him. And so it's a really interesting thing. When they said Do the Right Thing, I didn't know that's what that. I had no idea, and you know, thank you, Spike Lee, for
that's awesome.
So, out of these two movies, what's our order?
All right, so I'll start off, and I wish of all of them, I wish this was a tie. I wish we could have both of them move on, because the more I thought about this matchup, and I love A Few Good Men so much, but I really went back to the fact that Do the Right Thing blew me the fuck away the first time that I saw it, and in subsequent viewings too. It's a very rewatchable movie. It's a very tense movie, but there's some good humor in there too. Like there's some really funny moments. I have to go with A Few Good Men because I'm racist.
Yeah, yep.
But I thought you just went with the other one. That lulled me into a false sense of security.
That's the way I interpreted your vote.
Now, A Few Good Men is some of the smartest dialogue of all time, some of the best performances of all time, and it is honestly hard to beat for me, even moving forward too. That's a tease, kids.
He's giving us an upset tease.
That's right.
I'm going to go Do the Right Thing on this one because and again, I love these movies. This is one of those rare moments where you have both of them in front of you, and it's not obvious which one that you should watch. And I'm going to go with that one just because I don't know. In 1989, we have never seen anything this powder keg before, and it's good throughout. It just pulls you through to the end of this movie, and A Few Good Men's the same way. I'm just going to go with Do the Right Thing because I think it's a more important movie than A Few Good Men.
Oh yeah, it is.
And really that's the only advantage it has over A Few Good Men. And A Few Good Men is not important. So anyway, that's what I'm going to pick.
God damn it. I sit before you with no idea what to vote. I'm going to go Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
Because I think, like you said, it's not that A Few Good Men is unimportant. But what's important about Few Good Men is not as important as what's important about Do the Right Thing.
That's a good way to put it.
And for that reason, I'm gonna go Spike Lee's way, and that hurts my soul.
Yeah, I know it does me as well. I think this is all. I mean, this is an upset for sure. I mean, even though I think they're about equal films or everything, this is still an upset because I do believe A Few Good Men had a chance to kind of go all the way in this. But it's a tough matchup to put it up against right off the bat. And,
this was definitely it wasn't a bubble pick as far as whether it would get in or not. It was where it was seated because Chris actually voted for this first off in 1989. Of course, 1989 had that glut of stuff. We went several rounds.
Field of Dreams is 89.
89. Yeah. Last Crusade, When Harry Met Sally, and Do the Right Thing. So it was a stacked year, and make a case that it should have won.
Yeah. All right. So that leads us on to the 5 seed, The Right Stuff, versus the 12 seed, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Wow.
That's a really interesting matchup.
That's a wacky matchup.
And when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, well, that's going to win. But now now that I've read it out loud, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
So The Right Stuff, is The Right Stuff dated now? Do we really? I mean, I do. I really care about space exploration and everything. And I think it's something that we're going to end up having to do down the line. You know, I mean, not anytime soon. I just think that
as a podcast, you mean?
Yes, as a podcast, we're going to have to go out into space.
Podcast in space.
Yeah. But the excitement that I think the excitement we had about the space program in the 80s is so much lower. I know we don't care about launches anymore. Of course, the NASA doesn't do it anymore. Now we're relying on SpaceX to do their thing. But back in the 80s, man, I remember being a kid and being like, man, going to space, that's got to be like the coolest fucking thing in the world and everything. And it's really dropped off the face of the map since. But I love this movie so much, talking about the early days of it, finding all these pilots and finding the best men they can possibly to be able to endure the stuff that you have to go through when you're going into space. You're talking about a huge cast in this.
Yeah, well, yeah.
A veritable who's who of who's going to be famous and winning Oscars and all that are in this. Like, if you name any actor, they're probably in it. You know,
Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Oh shit, he's not in it. Fuck. Tommy Lee Jones. Fuck. But no, there's just a lot of people in this, and I always found that a really fascinating thing, is just to be able to, the beginnings of it in this way, where they're like, well, maybe we should find, fighter pilots who dealt with the G's and all this other type of stuff, and they start there and they move their way up. It's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I'm like just engrossed in it.
I like how they make them human, though. Like, they show like kind of the off time, the downtime. And this is, these paragons of virtue that we look at, like Alan Shepard and Gus Grissom and John Glenn and all those guys, that you just look at and say, like, those are the people that have unimpeachable character. Not that they don't in this, but like, you see conflicts in their marriage, and you see them, going out and having fun, blowing off steam and things like that. And it's not just them going through all this training, even though it's a big part of it.
I think we're in the real world, on the verge of a new boom of space excitement. In part because of Elon Musk and SpaceX and all the things he's trying to push to do. But I mean, this company has fired a rocket into the air and landed it back on Earth on its own like 4 fucking times already.
Yep.
Now go back to the 80s when you were a kid watching Challenger launches and tell me that you ever thought that kind of shit would be possible.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think I've said this on the podcast, but I grew up in an era where they would bring all the kids at school into the gym to watch the shuttle launches.
Yep.
It was that big of a deal. Imagine being alive during this time, like in the 50s and 60s, when the first real space race was going on, when they first landed a man on the moon. I had to shit my pants.
Oh, I know.
I grew up with the knowledge that was possible.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like putting a man on Mars.
Yeah.
Which I may get to see. So yeah, I don't understand people who aren't into space and space exploration because I'm not wired that way.
Yeah.
And this movie, if you like that stuff, this movie's fantastic. All the performances are just knockouts. My only complaint is that it's so long.
Yeah.
It gets a little slow at certain times. But I love this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know really much we can say about it. It's about the space program. It tells us all these different things. The Fred Ward thing is really, Gus Grissom's, you feel so bad. It's such a poor bastard moment is Gus Grissom, man. It's like, oh my God, you know? And that's what taints he's a badass astronaut, and that's his legacy.
Yeah.
It's Bill Buckner for astronaut. But yeah, I love all the little training sequences and all that, and just the he has to pee and everything's just go in your suit, man.
Yeah.
It's just but yeah, that's just a fascinating thing for me. On the other hand, we have Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Boy, this movie is almost as important as some of the other ones we've talked about, only on the side of love and emotions and relationships and how complex they can be. I had never seen anything like this movie before I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the first times I saw a director play so much with visuals, but still make it make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like you can watch a movie like The Cell.
Yeah.
Right? And you might go, well, that is trippy. I should have taken LSD, but what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Right? This movie gives you crazy visuals, but you know exactly what's happening in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's so good. And you talk about a big cast. This has Tom Wilkinson and Elijah Wood and Mark Ruffalo, Kirsten Dunst, and that's not even the main two players.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet are just, I mean, this relationship, it plays on your idea that, the two leads that, they seem so perfect together.
Yeah.
You want them to get back for some reason, even though this movie tells you in great detail why they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But you're still feeling that it plays on your sort of your expectations of romantic comedies and stuff, where you're like, I really hope they're able to figure this out by the end or anything.
Yeah, because of how it's ordered.
Yeah.
Because of how it starts.
Right.
You're set up. It's almost a cheat, but it's a great cheat. You're set up on the ass end of this relationship, and then you go back without even knowing it. What's weird about this, it's a sci-fi movie, just as a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Because this is, I guess, set in the near future, because they've got this technology that obviously we don't have to erase memories and these neural maps and things like that. But that's how they get away with those cool visuals. My favorite visual on this is where he's in the memory and everything's getting dark and it's closing around him. He's trying to take Clementine through there and guide her through there. And he gets into the office, and he's lost her. He's got into the office, and he sees Tom Wilkinson from behind, and he turns him around, and it's still the back of his head.
Yeah.
He turns him around, it's still the back of his head. That's a creepy visual,
Yeah.
but it's awesome, man. It's exactly... I've never seen anybody represent dreams as well as you see here, because dreams are fucked up. Even in Inception, when you think about a dream when you first wake up, you get weird visuals like that. Like you can't run, like you feel like your feet are stuck in mud and that kind of thing. Or it's frustrating. You're trying to turn this guy around and you're only seeing the back of his head. And it's set, every bit of this is brilliant. The sci-fi is fun. The kind of tertiary plot with Elijah Wood and Kirsten Dunst and Mark Ruffalo is great. And then you have the visuals, man. It's such a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Like, very few movies that try to do that actually succeed. Right? Like, I think the only reason I ever cried at Old Yeller was because I was 5. Right? When I watch Old Yeller now, it's not going to move me. It's not going to make me sad.
Really?
Fuck no.
What the fuck, man?
Come on,
You're
dude.
going to be fine with Old Yeller?
Yeah.
You're going to be completely stone-faced at
When
the
was
end
the
of
last
Old
time
Yeller.
you saw Old Yeller?
Okay, it's been a minute, but still.
All you're remembering is they shoot the dog. And that's sad. But it's like an hour and a half of boredom. It's a terrible movie.
No, it's a boy and his dog. It's a dog in a boy movie.
You're lionizing it. You're romanticizing it.
Man, I'm going to watch that tonight, and I'm going to call you.
There's an animation. Did you ever see that animation of Godzilla versus Bambi where Godzilla just stomps on Bambi? Does that make you sad?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because
My point is, this movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, really got to me because I think most of us have had a relationship that turns rocky at some point. And this movie plays a lot with the idea of memories and which memories do you want to keep and which memories would you rather get rid of. And you can't, in this movie, he chooses to get rid of all of them and then later regrets that once the happy memories start getting wiped out. It's just a gut wrencher, I think, and really inventive. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You probably like Old Yeller.
And this is Charlie Kaufman still on an amazing streak here because he had done Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, sort of a star screenwriter in this little period of time here. With first-time director Michel Gondry. Actually, I don't know if this was his first movie, but it was his first big one.
Yeah, because he was doing all those music videos.
Yeah, music videos and stuff like that. I don't think he's quite lived up to this movie at all, and I don't know if that's because of the Kaufman influence or if it's just because, who knows, some other factor.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Be Kind, Rewind was fun,
Yep.
but it certainly wasn't up to this level. What this had was the perfect amount of smarts and heart. Didn't mean that
Smarts and hearts
to rhyme, but yeah, I mean, you don't get movies like this. When you get an Inception, you get big ideas and you get, cerebral stuff. But for me, like the Mal stuff wasn't tugging at my heartstrings all that much. It was just a plot device, essentially. With this, the plot device is the entire movie, basically.
Yeah. These two had teamed up before 3 years prior in a movie called Human Nature.
With Patricia Arquette.
Yep.
Yeah,
Tim
that's
Robbins.
That's like Nell. She's like a forest person, I think. Somebody in that movie lives in the woods and is like Nell.
I haven't seen it in forever, but I remember it not being very good, and I guess that's just where they got their first team up or whatever. And I liked working with that guy or whatever, and then they did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is, I mean, it's miles ahead of Human Nature.
But also, I love themes, musical themes from songs that run through. Singles has this. It has the dyslexic heart theme running all the way through. And this has Beck's Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometime, which is one of his best songs, and he's got amazing songs. And it was kind of from that Nigel Godric's Sea Change years. And it is one of my most listened songs from a movie of all time. It's brilliant, and it's perfectly placed here.
Yeah. All right. So where are we going to vote on this one? I'm going to do Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind here. The movie is. I'm always going to reward something that has that kind of creativity behind it, and The Right Stuff is every way compelling, and I say if you have 4 hours to carve out in your day, watch that movie. It's great. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I think it's still perpetually underrated, even though I believe this past decade when people came out with their top 10 of the decade, it was in a lot of those lists.
Yeah.
I still don't hear people going, I love that movie just randomly out of nowhere. And so I still think it's underrated, even though I've seen it on so many top 10 of the decade lists and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Nice.
I'm going to sing you a song. Barrett's vote is meaningless. Barrett's vote is meaningless. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, because it makes me feel so many feels. And I've seen it like 6 times, and the feels are still strong every single time. If you've ever been in love and then broken up and been sad about it, this movie's for you.
This is Jim Carrey's, I'm going to say it's his best dramatic performance.
I will agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, even the Truman Show, which I adore.
That was the only reason I paused, because that's a great performance.
But he's still Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's not like something that's like super deep until the very end of that movie.
Yeah.
In this one, he's like, that's where he's grown as an actor so much.
He's playing a character here for maybe the first time, like a non-comedic character instead of just his stand-up bit. And man, when he says, just let me keep this one, this one memory as it's falling away, man, that'll crush you. And then when they're sitting on the beach and they know that's it, and she's like, this is the last bit of me. And you feel everything right there. I got chills just talking about it. It's awesome. That's my vote too.
Unanimity.
Unanimity.
Unanimosity.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to continue to break this up a little bit. Sorry we can't get through every bracket, but man, we love these movies so much, we got to give them their proper time.
That's
so.
it.
We gotta love them. We gotta seduce them.
That's right, and this was a particularly trying round. I mean, you have two movies, every one of these, even though there's some that came out unanimous or everything, they're not exactly easy picks.
Yeah,
no,
and it means you have to send something amazing to the fucking bench, man.
We just eliminated a few good fucking men.
I know, right?
what have we done? What have we? I am genuinely curious to see what Final Four we end up with.
Yeah, me too. I have no clue.
It could be, I mean, I could make a prediction and they could all be wrong because I still don't know what some of these matchups are going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, go on to the questions.
With some A's?
Let's do
some
it.
Q's?
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
Got some terrific questions by email, actually, recently. So if you want to email us, go to cinemasins@gmail.com. Hit us up on the Reddit page. Our subreddit is reddit.com/r/cinemasins. And Twitter. Anyway, it's all good stuff. Really interesting one here. The question is, who is the true villain of Inside Out? The listener says, is it joy or sadness, or could it be some third character that has escaped her? Our debate is now between either joy or sadness. What do you guys think, Jerry?
Evil corporation her dad works for. That makes him move all the way to San Francisco in the first place. That's all the conflict is set in motion because of that. There's also, I actually thought way too long about this question because there's really two stories happening here, right? Because you've got Riley and she's upset that they moved, but she can't quite work out how to tell her parents this. But inside her brain, these emotion things are having a carnival journey with a fluffy purple elephant. Yeah. And supposedly the two tie together in some form or fashion. I really like this movie, but I'm saying that because we had so many job changes in my life growing up. Not job changes so much as just moves. My dad would take a job at a different place and we'd move, and it fucking sucked. And every single time I know there's twice as many letters I have to write to my old friends, and I gotta go make new friends, and I gotta make orgy friends.
Yeah.
Not an orgy guy. Anyway, and I really connect to that, and I think the crux of the whole movie is that Riley has to figure out how to let that sadness out. And when she does, and breaks down and is honest with her mom and dad there at the end, that's when things all start to get better. I have to take joy and sadness and all the marbles in the brain out of it for me, because I can't connect to those characters. I connect to Riley and the human characters. So the conflict for me is that she had to move. She had to leave everything behind, and it takes her a while to figure out how to vocalize that and start the mourning process.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, because I think the true villain with this, I agree that it's not one of the emotions, is time.
Yeah.
Because you can make an argument, and I see exactly where you're coming from, but you can make an argument, even if she stayed put, it may have delayed things, but she was going to get to this point regardless. That's part of growing older, is letting go of just this cheery outlook on life or sad outlook on life, and having that mixture of joy, sadness, anger, all this stuff together. And time is going to make her get there. You know, it's also going to be sprinkling in boys and all that stuff too. And so that it comes for everybody. Like that's why time is such always the master villain. It's going to provoke change and conflict in anyone, regardless of circumstance. But it is exacerbated by the move, for sure.
Yeah.
It's easy to, I mean, I love this question because it does make you think about, you know, what's sort of the driving force behind this situation or whatever. But it's easy to say joy or sadness might be a villain or a hero in this because they have personified these things. When I'm watching this movie, you know, at first you're a little annoyed that sadness keeps doing these things that she's being told not to do.
Yeah, she's an impulsive little runt.
Right. But you realize that it's not because she's deciding to do it. It's because that's the way human emotions are. Something overrides these things. You want to feel happy all the time. If you could make yourself feel happy all the time, you would. But it's easy because they've personified these things and they've made them characters to say, fucking Sadness, what are you doing? What are you doing touching all the balls, man? What's going on? And but like, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, this is no different really from what you just said, Barrett, and I don't think it's much different from what you said. The actual villain is life. You know?
Yeah.
It's the stuff that you have to do that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why they go on this journey or whatever. I do wonder though what happens though if Joy and Sadness aren't able to get back to their brain.
Riley breaks.
Yeah.
She breaks and ends up in like Bellevue.
Yeah, I guess so.
She just completely breaks down.
She has no ability to be sad or joyful, just angry and like hungry or something. I don't know.
Well, that you could actually take this as just a metaphor for this is the journey that everybody's brain goes through as you go through, because we all did go through that preteen or teen phase where everything was replaced by either rage or horniness.
Yeah.
Sometimes both. I have had a lot of rage boners.
Yes. Yep.
But like, yeah, so like your ability, and that's why this movie is so gorgeous, is personifying those emotions. When you go back to the beginning part of this movie where Joy is the overwhelming favorite, the boss, the one that runs the show, it takes you back to that period in your life as a kid before you had to move or whatever, or when you settled in, where you were just happy.
Yeah.
Like you were happy all the time. We're miserable people right now. We're just always miserable. It's either traffic getting us, or it's, having to wait on something, or like frustrations with the job or whatever. And it's hard to even get back to the point where you can just take off the veil of everything and just be like, I'm actually happy in this moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people who do meditation and everything are trying to get to a childlike mentality. And that's why this movie is so freaking brilliant, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also feel like when Riley grows up, maybe just after this movie ends, she's going to have like Pay Your Bills Island and like Go to the Job You Hate land. And like she's going to replace all the fun lands with like adult. That's kind of sad when you think about the movie this way, right? That it's really about saying goodbye to your childhood and accepting the fact that being an adult sucks.
Yep.
It sucks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm all perked up, you got another question?
What, in your opinions, are some of the best movies and TV shows that are geared or marketed towards kids but transcend that G rating and can be the most impactful to people of any age? This person gave Pixar, actually, as an example. What do you guys think?
Now, I guess they puts G in quotes because it could just mean any kid's movie. It doesn't have to be G rated. The first thing that I come up with immediately is The Neverending Story. I've probably mentioned The Neverending Story a few times on the podcast. I'm not sure. We've done a lot of stuff on the videos using it in outtakes and stuff like that. But The Neverending Story is fascinating to me today because it is just such a pro-imagination movie. It's one of those. It's unique, and I know that I think the author of the original book didn't like how the movie went because it's changed a lot of stuff or whatever. I've never read the book, but
I read it a long time ago. I remember loving it.
Does it end?
It does. Well,
good question.
The book ends, but the story does not.
Oh,
yeah, and that's pretty much that's the point, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is I've even at a young age, I watched this movie when I was 7 years old when it came out. The thing about it is that the whole thing seems like an allegory for your imagination. It's it's the sort of the nothing is the what happens when you decide to not use it, and when by the end of it, when Fantasia has been destroyed and everything, he still has the power to bring it back. And it was always something that was crazy to me to think, he's reading this book and then suddenly there's a point in the movie where he realizes he's part of the story as well. Because there's a part where Atreyu goes towards the cave and there's the reflection and everything, and is talking about the boy that's looking over him right now and everything. He's like, what? And
did that not break your brain when you saw it as a 7-year-old?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're standing as Bastion and you're just like, what the fuck is?
Yeah.
Oh God! There's all these realizations.
There's so many. I mean, I love the setup to this because he's running away from bullies. He goes into a bookstore. There's like this, lonely bookstore seller guy in there who's like, I've got a book for you, but probably not, or whatever. And then Bastian's like, I've read all these great books, Moby Dick and all that and whatever. He's like, okay, well, maybe you're ready for this book. And then he goes to like the school, like that always captured my imagination too, like an attic or something where he can just read a book all the way through it, all the way through the night and not worry about it. But
that's good parenting right there.
That is good parenting.
There was a paucity of good parenting in the 80s movies.
Oh, yeah. Parents just took a whole decade off.
Yeah, they did.
They were too busy doing cocaine at Studio 50.
Yeah, man, they totally were. But yeah, it's always been that for me. Like it's just it's such a pro imagination movie. You don't see that much, even in some of, a lot of our kids' movies that come out these days are just like, here's a message, go with the message, like Trolls.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be too party all the time. You can't be too down all the time. Try to mix the two, or something like that. It's some bullshit like that. This movie lets you sort of decide on your own.
I think you're right. That's another movie that people don't talk enough about. It's Never Ending Story. Mm-hmm. And it's not real dated.
No,
it's pretty dated.
But the fantastical elements, like the big flying dog thing, I guess has its limitations.
Yeah, the special effects are not. Yeah, the special effects are not great, especially when you look at them today and on an HD television. And it's got that 80s song, Look Around.
Love that song. Fucking love that song.
Yeah, I do too.
Never Ending Story.
I do too. I always sing it. Yeah, as soon as it comes on, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to watch these credits, aren't I? I needed to find out who was playing the Bat character, That's what it comes down to.
Isn't there a giant turtle in that movie?
There is.
That's what I thought.
Not that it matters.
All right, so my answer is the Iron Giant.
Nice. Such a good movie.
And that's just because I was an adult when I saw it, and I cried at the end of it. And that, I feel like, is what the question asker is going for. A movie that is largely aimed at kids, but still hits adults so hard, and I've never really been able to put my finger on or articulate why. It's fantastic. The voice performances are great. Brad Bird's direction is outstanding. But I grew up in part of the Cold War, but not like this era of the Cold War. And I guess I fantasized about having a pet robot or something, but not that. I was much more concerned about fantasizing about hitting a home run in the baseball game or something. But there's something about this movie that just takes me back to when I was Hogarth's age and captures that anything is possible kind of feeling. So my Iron Giant is my answer.
Speaking of things hitting things, I'm going to go with Home Alone.
Oh.
Home Alone is an 8-year-old's dream.
Yeah.
You are by yourself. You can do whatever you want to. You've got some cash. You've got access to your parents' stuff, your brother's stuff, your sister's stuff. And it's fantastic. I love those scenes when he just realizes that he's home alone and he don't give a fuck.
He's happy.
He's happy and he's like, fuck, man, I'm going to throw in the filthiest movie that I can find. I'm going to eat ice cream. I'm going to sled off of the stairs out the door and everything. That is the time where your imagination can go absolutely bonkers. Of course, by the end of that, he's fucking doing laundry and shit, which is weird that he has that much laundry to do over the course of 2 days.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's a whole other thing.
I think it's every child's fantasy, but it would only be that for like a minute.
Yeah.
Like I have this cat who's never been outside, never been in the garage, and a few weeks ago, I opened the garage to go down there to do laundry, and he darts into the garage. And I'm like, motherfucker, how am I going to get... And he immediately goes, what the fuck is this? I've never seen this, and bolts right back into the house, right? That's how it would be for Kevin. Like, he'd literally go a minute, like, this is awesome, and then he'd be in tears, crying, in a fetal position, right? Like, when I was his age, I was about 7, and my brother and I played this game with my dad. If he was running errands and leaving us in the car, that one of us would hide in the back. We had like a hatchback or under something, and then the other one would say, "Well, Jeremy left and he took off or whatever." And so this time I decided I'm going to do it. We're only 6 blocks from home, so I got out and started running for home. And by the time my dad got home, I was in tears.
Oh.
Like I thought he's out looking for me. He's never going to come back here. Like, this is my home, but without my family, I was crushed. I was maybe 7.5 years old. Started as a prank. My point is, we think that's an 8-year-old's fantasy. But in reality, I think they would all melt down pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a whole different perspective. And that's why it was really cool, because I was about his age when this came out. I was about 10. Yeah, I was about 10 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that was the beauty of it, though, is that I guess it was a function of people treating him so awfully before they left. So that sustained a little bit more. Of course, he had that time where they first tried to break in, and he's like, Mom, I don't know why he refuses to call the cops. But my point is that with all the slapstick and with all of the family drama, with all the fantasy elements and everything in that, it was geared towards like my demographic at the time. But I can watch that shit over and over and over now as an adult and watch it with my kid, and I get just as much enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's a really great movie, really fun. We like to nitpick things.
Yes.
But there's a reason that movie spawned 2 sequels and was just a mammoth hit and almost spawned a career for McCulkin.
Yeah.
If you could pick any actor or actress to play a deity, who would it be? Contrarily, and thank you for using the word contrarily.
Mm-hmm.
If you could pick any actress or actor to be a demonic figure, who would it be?
Other than those that already are demonic figures.
Yes,
in
exactly.
real life. Like
Yeah.
Christopher Walken's a demon.
Right.
I'm convinced.
Yeah. He was playing himself in the prophecy.
Exactly. I went with an interesting pick, I think. Zhang Ziyi.
Yeah.
Who was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She was in Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh, yeah.
And she has just this angelic demeanor. And I love her character in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, too, because she's precocious, but then, like, fun. It's just she's the most fun character in that whole movie. And she's got this beautiful look. At this point, she's about 38 years old, and she's got a little more, you could say she's gotten older, obviously, and a little more experience in her face. And it just is striking to me that I think she would be a great like deity or an angelic figure or something like that.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. I love my pick for the demonic figure because I think you could make him up to look like an actual demon, and he's a great looking guy, but Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a great one.
He almost has horns on a daily basis anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you could watch a demon movie with him as the demon, sign me up for that, man, because he's a great actor and he's cool as shit, and he would probably be a terrific like devil.
Yeah, I agree. Benicio del Devil Toro.
Yeah. All right, so my female deity is Charlize Theron.
Oh.
First off, yes, let's get the obvious out of the way. She's gorgeous.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And that's one of been my longtime crushes ever since 2 Days in the Valley and all that.
Yep.
I mean,
Ever since That Thing You Do.
yeah, that thing you do where she runs away with the dentist.
Yeah, she's basically that dude's girlfriend who left.
But I think the thing about Charlize Theron that's great is that I think she's down to earth, which is weird that we're talking about deity and everything. But I think she could infuse that with the power that it needs and everything. And she's a good actor. She's got a great sense of humor that I've seen. So I think she would be a perfect deity.
She's regal.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that just because she played the Snow Queen or whatever.
Right.
But like she's got this demeanor, this stature. She's tall as shit, I think. If not, she looks tall.
Yeah.
But I could totally see that.
I did female and male, so I guess I'll go through all
Bring
of them.
it, baby.
Max von Sydow would be my deity as far as the man is concerned. And the thing is, Max von Sydow, I mean, the guy has had a career now. The Seventh Seal came out 60 years ago.
Jesus.
Wow.
And that's a movie that sort of sets you on that sort of path with him. And of course he played the Crow in Game of Thrones in the past season. But he's got that voice that's so engaging and everything, and I think he could very well believably play a deity, no problem.
That's a good pick.
As my demon, here's a funny thing. I picked an actress who does mostly sweet-natured roles, and that's Rosario Dawson.
Huh.
I think she could be a great demon, though, because her face is just such that I think she could really just pull it off. And we saw a little bit of that in Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, she's playing really sweet, like out of their league girlfriend types or whatever. Like in every movie, you're like, I think Amy Schumer has this thing where it's like in The Zookeeper, where Kevin James has to decide, like, is turning down Rosario Dawson because there was somebody else that he wants or whatever. Like Rosario Dawson is one of the most beautiful women in the world is throwing herself at you. And you want somebody else. Like, what the fuck? But I think she would be great. And then the male demon, Kevin Spacey.
Oh, that's great.
Or the devil himself. He could play the devil.
Yeah, he really could.
He'd make a better devil than Pacino did in that movie with Pacino.
The Devil's Advocate.
The Devil's Advocate, yes.
I don't know if anybody can top Pacino in The Devil's
I don't know,
Advocate.
but he would be more of like the prankster demon, I think, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
What's weird about Max von Sydow is that it sprang into my mind. He was in Needful Things. You remember that Stephen King adaptation? And he was the shopkeeper in that. And that's why I thought you were going with the demon for him.
Oh, yeah?
As I was looking that up, guys probably already knew that. He was the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I don't pay enough much attention to Ghostbusters 2.
That's the painting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm cheating. I think I threw Chris off because when I answered the question, I picked a male and female. So I'm cheating, and I'm going Viggo Mortensen as my deity.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Basically played Jesus in a famous trilogy. But if you look at that scene where Aragorn tells the hobbits, you bow to no man, the face he has, the command, respect, all of that is what I see making him a great deity in the movie. Is that I feel like he can have that power, that danger, and that kindness all at once. Mm-hmm. For my female deity, I'm going back to Margot Martindale, who I can't think off the top of my head what was that movie I saw her in where she played a good person, because most recently she played Justified, the villain, and she's fantastic. But she can also be very endearing and mothering and supportive. And I think she could pull off a nice god.
It's funny, this is the second time that you brought up Margot Martindale. It's like BoJack Horseman. I don't know if you've seen BoJack Horseman, but BoJack Horseman keeps finding a way to put Margot Martindale and everything.
Her name or use her voice?
Her actual actress and her voice.
That's fucking awesome.
So like there's a lot of parts in there where they're like Margot Martindale and she's like always in some sort of trouble or like criminal thing or whatever, and like and it's just funny because now I'm suddenly thinking about BoJack Horseman when
that's
you do.
Crazy.
Yeah.
For my demony devils, I'm also kind of cheating here because I'm going Vera Farmiga. And she's kind of playing something demonic on that Psycho show that's like a prequel because she's playing his mom or whatever. But that's sort of, again, what gives me the clue that she could pull off something sinister. She usually plays good people, good guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to see her go the other side of the aisle. And then nobody's going to be surprised to hear me say Ben Foster's going to play my devil and or my demon.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Solely from 3:10 to Yuma, even though he's been, or maybe... What's that Anton Yelchin one we always talk about?
Alpha Dog.
Yeah, Alpha Dog, too. He's fucking frightening in that
And
movie.
don't forget Warcraft.
Yes. Who could forget Warcraft?
Nobody could.
Not Robin Thicke.
Nope, definitely not Robin Thicke. By the way, in BoJack Horseman, Margot Martindale plays character actress Margot Martindale. That's her character name.
Nice. I should watch this show.
It's great, actually. It's a really funny show. I remember when I first started watching BoJack Horseman, I was like, I don't know. It seems like it's maybe trying a little bit too hard to be this and that or whatever. By about the 5th episode, I was like, I'm hooked into this. And like the next couple of seasons were great. And Will Arnett is he's just.
By the way, did you hear about they set a release date for the new Mystery Science Theater episodes on Netflix?
Really?
Like next month, right?
10th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, baby. I'm going to be binging that shit.
Yeah.
That's
hell
got
yeah.
like Patton Oswalt.
Well, yeah, you add Patton Oswalt to the original group.
Oh yeah.
All right. Oh, I
I
already
know.
have a boner.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. If you could choose any main music theme from a movie to announce your arrival at places, what would it be?
I love this question.
Me too.
I went through about 15 different answers, and I could have picked any of them. But I'm actually going to steal your suggestion because you said something when you sent these questions to us about Out of Sight.
Yep.
And that movie opens with basically the lick from It's Your Thing, right? It goes boom, 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 and that would be good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to choose from the same movie the score from the transition from Miami to Detroit.
Yep.
And when we go to Detroit and now it's cold and snowy, it's
Yeah.
and I think I could walk in like a fucking stud to any location, church, pharmacy, I don't care. If that music was playing, I would be boom, 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 boom. I'd be walking in like Kramer wearing the coat of many colors.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Nice. I wish I had a badass theme. I don't think I could pull it off. Like I maybe like at the beginning, but then it would get old. Like people would see it coming and be like, no, man, no. I chose the quirky music from American Beauty.
Oh,
It was James Newton Howard that did this. And eventually went on to score 6 Feet Under, another Alan Ball thing. I think it's so percussive and quirky and interesting that like you could hear me coming and be like, oh, that's fair.
a lot of mallet instruments in that score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that guy likes him some xylophone and glockenspiel.
Yeah.
right?
Could you just for me? I'm sorry, I was distracted. What did you say was the music again? No.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were asking. What?
No, what's the movie
American
again?
Beauty.
American Beauty. That's Thomas Newman.
Thomas Newman.
Did I say James Newton Howard?
You did. That's why I was confused because I was sitting there going, "What you did? You said 6 Feet Under and all that," and I was like, "Didn't he say James Newton Howard? It's Thomas Newton.
That's what I meant.
Thomas Newman.
It's Thomas Newton.
Yeah, Thomas Newman.
Newman.
Newman. I said Newton and then I said Newman.
It's Thomas Newman.
Yeah.
Newman.
Yeah." Yeah, so that's why I was confused. I was like, sorry about that. I'm sorry. When I heard James Newton Howard, I was like, that doesn't sound like.
Actually, just after it came out of my lips, I was like, no, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah, hopefully they'll correct
That's why
me.
I said no. I mean, I knew the correct one, but when I said Woody Allen movie, I thought I said Woody Allen album. Anyway,
Yeah, you said
What's
Allen
yours?
and you thought album.
exactly.
Okay, we're gonna bring this full circle back to a Kenneth Branagh movie here.
All right.
Nice.
And I believe possibly even talked about this song in the first episode because it's on that Hamlet trailer. But it's in Henry V that this music and it's from Patrick Doyle who did something I believe that's on the soundtrack that's called St. Crispin's Day, and then they also have a slash once more into the breach or whatever. But I believe it's St. Crispin's Day because that's the one that's got that, na 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 na.
Oh, nice.
And then it's got that, it's a beautiful piece of music. And I would go and look that up on like YouTube or something. Find the Patrick Doyle St. Crispin Day, or whatever, or watch the Hamlet trailer that Kenneth Branagh did. Now that's a super dramatic song that I would be walking into,
Indeed.
and everything. I would probably play that off a little bit more ironically because I'm not that serious.
Especially
a
everybody
dude.
would be expecting like an Independence Day speech after
Right.
that kind of music.
Yeah, exactly. And come in and just like, but it's one of those that you feel good coming into and everything. And it would have to be at that crescendo that's in that song. Anyway, that's my-
Crescendo.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more?
Yeah, man. What movie characters do you feel are the best examples of integrity and moral fiber? Please include more than one gender. Now that's interesting.
I don't think I did that.
I didn't either.
Well, we don't need to do that.
To do another gender and everything. I think like I think almost every female character that they try to put in a movie has the moral
Yeah.
high ground most of the time and everything. But I, you know what? I'm picking somewhat of a surprise here because it's Fast Eddie Felson in The Color of Money.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously he's a hustler. He's trying to pretend. Well, I mean, he's trying to get Tom Cruise in this one to pretend to be not so good at pool or whatever, and make him into what he was in the Hustler. But there's some scenes in there that just prove within this world his integrity, especially at the end of the movie when he finds out that the Cruise character has thrown the match against him and has given him a whole bunch of money from the betting he did on it. And so he's in the championship at the end of this, this big tournament and everything. And he ends up just taking his pool cue apart, putting it back in the case, and just giving the envelope back to Cruise and saying, this is not earned, basically. If he's going to get money, he's going to get it honestly in this world. He's going to get it like with a fair game. It's not.
What's funny is they did exactly what he had been teaching them to do. That's why I love this movie so much. Is he's basically teaching them to hustle. And Cruise's girlfriend gets it way before Cruise does. But that ending shows, hey, the student heard the teacher, I got what you were, but it still breaks his heart. Still, he didn't win fair and square, and that kills him.
Right.
That's such a good pick.
And there's like other moments in there. I believe there's a point where his girlfriend and I get three people's names confused on. It's Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. There's a scene where she opens the door for Fast Eddie and she's like wearing almost nothing.
Yeah.
Her shirt's like hanging out, like, barely covering, and she's in panties and everything. And she's basically saying, if you want to, you can just seduce me right now. And
he gets mad.
And he gets pissed off. And he could this Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, man, I don't know if I'd have that same kind of restraint that he does. But there's a point where he says something like, put that thing to good use or whatever. And she's like, what thing? And because her ass is just hanging just pointed towards him. And she's like, what thing? And they just no more, there's no more discussion after that. But yeah, that's an interest. I felt like it was an interesting sort of character here, because in that world, you wouldn't really call this guy moral and have integrity or anything. But within this world, yes, totally moral.
Good call. Good call. I went back and forth on a few, but I think we've talked so much Gone Baby Gone, I think I'll just stick with Casey Affleck here. And we called the movie morally ambiguous earlier. I think it's, I'm going to play semantics. It's not ethically ambiguous. It may be morally ambiguous, and maybe what I'm doing is choosing an ethical character as opposed to a high moral fiber character, because he knows every bit how terrible a mother Helene is. He knows the kind of scenario this girl's going back to the point where he's checking up on her a couple days later because he knows she might burn down the house or something.
Yeah.
But he still does what he believes is the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot steal people's kids. Even if you will provide a better home, that's wronger than this wrong. And I feel that's where his decision comes from, and there's no leniency there. I don't think he hesitates. I think when his girlfriend says, I'll hate you if you do this, he's like, well, shit, lost my girlfriend. I think he's just committed. So I pick him.
Yeah.
That's a great distinction. When does it become morally righteous to give a kid a better life, though? It's interesting. The reason I asked
he even says this to Morgan Freeman. You should have gone to child services. Outside of that, this is not your call to make.
All right, but if the laws are set up to be the antithesis of the greater good for this child, then isn't it worth breaking them?
Well, not at the point they do.
That's the central question, obviously, of the movie.
The uncle or the aunt should have gone to child services, reported the mother, and had her investigated. They could have probably even gotten custody because they're blood relatives. The girl might not have had to go into, an orphanage or something.
Yeah. I think doesn't it set it up to where that is not necessarily the resolution that would be done, though, that she would get lost in the shuffle? Maybe they would have put her
in an orphanage or in a foster home. That's still better than being with Helene. And it's still more ethical and moral than what Morgan Freeman does, which is manufacture a goddamn kidnapping.
Yeah.
and murder to steal a child.
That's the other level of this that we sort of forget about in Gone Baby Gone is that there's a level of criminality that happens beyond just kidnapping the kid.
No, definitely.
But then when you're just left with the bare choice, that's where it's super tough. But
because I could make an argument that Michelle Monaghan's character is the morally righteous one.
Right. Well,
too.
that's why I tried to swerve it into ethics for a second there, because I think there is a distinction, and I think you can make a case that has the moral high ground.
Well, not even high ground. Both of them are great examples of this.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to do what they think is best
and
in this
situation. And they have a real love. They have a real connection. And they both sever it over basically principles.
Yeah. And you can't really fault either one of them.
I really can't talk about this movie at any time. I really can't.
All right. So my pick is actually, it went between William Wallace in Braveheart, who's the most morally righteous character in a movie that you can get. I kind of pumped the brakes on that because the movie's so over the top about how righteous this dude is, so much so that he spits out the pain-killing thing at the end, when it's like, is that really going to make much of a difference? Like, you could probably just swallow that and you'd be fine. Not to mention, by the way, that he kisses her and he's talking and this should be falling out of his mouth anyway. But I think that's too over the top, so I'm going to go back to Marge Gunderson from Fargo, because she is so politely dogged about what she does, and she wants to get to the bottom of this. This is somebody that's been murdered, and then she, the evidence piles up, and this whole thing starts unraveling, and she is going to see it through, even though she's fucking pregnant. She's walking around in sub-zero temperatures, and all her concern is Prowler needs a jump, and she's going to go about her routine and do her job, and that is a great example of moral fiber, I think, is to do something until it's done. Mm-hmm. So
just today I've realized that we could have a nice, interesting conversation about the parallels between her and her deputy and Tommy Lee Jones and his deputy in No Country for Old Men.
Oh yeah,
There's a very similar dynamic at work, and they're both of the lead detectives are moral, upstanding people. Anyway, I just realized that, and they're both Coen movies. So anyway,
interesting.
Good answer.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this SinCast. Keep going to SoundCloud and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead and play along with us. Play with us. Go ahead and
play with us,
Just
Danny.
fondle the sack a bit.
That's not where I was going.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Pull up the bracket, print it, do whatever you got to do, and play along with us. Make your picks. Send us your picks. I'm good with it. Go, and if you get on the SoundCloud comments, you disagree with our picks, let us know about it.
Very likely, by the way. Very likely. It is way more difficult than I ever thought going through all
really
this.
is.
Because I can't decide sometimes, after we've talked about it.
I know. Because you talk yourself into it. You're like, oh, man, that's really amazing.
Yeah, and really, honestly, if we ran this bracket several times, we'd probably go different way.
Yeah.
A lot of times. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
You saw her boobs.
I did.
Oh, that's last week's episode. Shit. Take that part out.
Well, I mean, wait. We talked about this. We saw our boobs thing this episode.
But it's going
on
into
last week's.
Oh, last week's.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of time shifting.
Yeah.
Got some good meat. Yeah, man. They did a big opening groundbreaking thing today.
Oh, I like when ground breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And when the levee breaks.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of breaking in general.
Mm-hmm. Twisting and turning, you're feeling the burning, you're breaking the girl.
You know what I didn't realize? I got Sing Street, and it's sitting on my desk ready for me to watch. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize this is the same guy that made that movie with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley that I mentioned 25 episodes ago, where Ruffalo's character can visualize all the orchestration going around when she's just strumming and singing.
Oh, yeah.
Same director.
Really?
And I kind of enjoyed that movie. So
Begin Again.
Begin Again, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously got, like, Damien Chazelle, like, some kind of music connection.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very excited to watch it.
I really want to watch it again, actually.
I've got it. You want to borrow it? What I
It's
do
on
not have
Netflix.
is Cabin in the Woods. You cannot borrow that. I spent another hour today looking for that thing just for peace of mind, and I can't find it.
Girl on the Train was trending this morning. It was on the trending page.
Interesting.
Really?
That's
It was
something
like
I did not expect at all.
Maybe
It was
Justin
number-
was thorough enough.
Loved it. It was number 40. Number 1 was Bruno Mars's new video.
Oh, that bastard gets us every time.
We can no matter how hard we try, we cannot top Bruno Mars in the trending.
We tried everything.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's make Jeremy watch Chicago again.
Yeah.
I'll go sign that one to the writers.
He had it coming.
Yeah, that counts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed watching the Oscars more than I did the Grammys this year.
I sure did. Grammys can suck my balls.
Yeah, man.
I'm so over it.
It's just basically a performance piece at this point.
Well, then the awards don't mean jack shit anymore.
No.
It used to actually mean something to say 6-time Grammy winning whatever, but now you could go pluck any artist off the top 40 charts and they probably got a Grammy, at least a
For
nomination.
something. Because
Bieber
they
has
have
Grammys.
there's a category for everything.
Right.
And yeah, the actual award show now is like 6 awards. Like everybody's gotten their awards by the time the show starts.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That might have been the funniest thing though about the James Corden thing was him talking about Drake and Rihanna. And he's like, we should get those two together. And he's like, oh wait, it didn't work out. You saying it has happened? It just didn't work out. I'm watching it at Green Hills.
Sweet.
Because you're snooty.
Yeah. Well,
You think your shit don't stink.
Green Hills, I would love to go there all the time.
Yep.
Except for the fact that it is located in Green Hills.
It's
Yes.
awful.
Yes.
But I rarely ever go there because of that. But at 10 o'clock, it's all the,
Should be all right on
all the
traffic.
bullshit's has gone through at that point.
All the bullshit has bullshitted.
Yes.